beyond honoured to have our next guest on the show today. The greatest ever Paralympian in the winter sports that Australia has ever seen. 11 Paralympic medals across 5 Winter Paralympic Games. And believe it or not, he's not done. He hasn't been at a Winter Paralympics in a while, but he might just be one in a matter of weeks' time. It is a pleasure, honour to welcome to Off the Podium, the one, the only, Michael Milton. Michael, welcome to Off the Podium.
Hello, and very honoured to be here.
Well, the honour is mine, my friend, because
No, the honour is mine.
Let's just sit here for an hour and say that back and forth. I like that. But I had to say that you have technically, in a way, been on this show before. I interviewed you many a moons ago for a community radio show in Hobart when I was wet behind the ears. We replayed that when we first started on the show 10 years ago. It was a horrible interview, Michael. I listened to it just before this chat. I never want to hear that again. But the fact that we've got you on now for a proper interview, I think makes it up.
I have no idea how good or bad it is.
Terrible. It shows you how well it was that you obviously would never remember it. But it's interesting because you've been on a list. I have a list of, let's get these people on the show one day. We'll get around to it. But when I see this extraordinary story recently that you're putting the skis back on, you're attempting this comeback and you're going to go for another Winter Paralympics, nearly 2 decades after you last skied at one, Michael. I was like, nah, we're scrap this order of a list. We're getting him on tomorrow. We need to get this back on there. And I want to start there. The comeback. Talk to me about this, Michael, because this is absolutely extraordinary.
I'm definitely older, grayer, fatter, slower than I used to be. But the love of skiing and the passion is still there. I love skiing as much as I can every winter. I work in Thredbo. I ski with my family. Lots of really cool stuff happens to me when I'm skiing. And I was working in Thredbo and I just worked on a village series race. And I work in the race crew, so setting up ski races and stuff is what I do. And I'd also raced in this race and I'd skied okay. And I went, this was pretty fun and maybe I could do it. It's a little dicky-die race, it's only short, it's pretty easy. It's certainly nothing like I'm kind of prepping for in Europe. But I had fun and I was kind of going to sleep and I thought, it's a few people making comebacks. Lindsey Vonn, famous American alpine skier, coming back at age 41 with a knee replacement to try and medal at the Torino Games. Famous Austrian skier Marcel Hirscher, friend of mine, Jenny Owen, Australian, coming back and ski across.
Yep.
And I went, I'm 52, I'm older than all those guys, but I'm still pretty keen. And, my knee felt really good and my back feels good. There's some good parts of my body still. So, I couldn't get rid of the thought. And I stayed awake at night and I got my phone out and I started reading selection criteria and kind of going through and started thinking, maybe, let's see what happens. And then kind of wrote down a list of what I needed to do during the Australian winter and what I needed to cover off in terms of some training, some race results, talking to my family, talking to some sponsors and trying to work out how I might pay for it and all these kind of things. And there was no deal breakers there. We just kind of went from one step to another and everything went relatively well. I skied well at Australian National Championships, particularly in GS. And everything went tick, tick, tick. And I went, let's hit the go button. Let's make this happen. Let's, it was all very last minute. And that's been one of the big challenges for me is these kind of last minute decisions.
Yeah.
But, I'm in a unique position as a skier, that skiing is still gravity based. It's not track and field or swimming. You're not just all the power coming out of your body. And at the same time, it's not like shooting or archery. There's still athleticism required, balance, et cetera, et cetera. So all these kind of things. So I'm in a pretty unique position with my background, my history of skiing. I ski every winter. I ski whenever I can. I work, I ski with my kids. So all these kind of things happen. So there's still a reasonable amount of skiing it's pretty unconscious. It just happens. Here we are, leaving the country, heading to Europe, trying to qualify for the Games, age 52.
I'm glad you've mentioned the age, Mike, because I wanted to be respectful and not bring it up. But
you've got to get up front.
You've got to have that. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Jenny. We had Jenny on recently to talk about her comeback and everything that she was doing there. And I loved hearing her perspective of what she was telling her husband and her family. I mean, how does your family react to this? that you are making this comeback? Because they're the ones I feel you got to talk to them the most. The sponsors, everyone else, they're probably fine with it, but your family, they're the ones.
Kids are excited. My kids are 16 and 19. They're old enough and mature enough to know that they would love to go to Italy and watch.
Free trip to Italy, Dad. Yeah, let's do it.
There's a bit of bribery here. They're both pretty involved in what we're doing. My son and I are training in the gym together, and that's been fantastic to have a training buddy. My daughter's helping me with some logistical stuff, flights and eSIMs, and helping me with social media posts, and is quite heavily involved in that sort of stuff. So it's been great to do this project with their involvement. The one who is the hardest to convince, and to be honest, has the hardest job of all of us, is my wife, because she and I run a business together, and I'm leaving and playing and doing things. And I'm also, we also as business partners complement each other in terms of strengths and weaknesses, and some of my weaknesses in terms of communication with sponsors and PR and some of those kind of things that she's having to add to her workload, as well as me not being here to run our business together. So she's the one who's got the short end of the stick. We are working well on it together and are, both committed to it. She did need a couple of discussions and a little bit of encouragement. I think it's all kind of working out relatively well at the moment. And I think we can make that happen. And certainly one of the big parts for me is to be able to share this experience with my family in Italy.
Because if I'm doing those maths correctly, then that your daughter would have been born or not quite born after Turin, probably for Beijing, but not for Turin, if that maths are correct there.
So my wife was pregnant with my daughter at the Torino Games in 2006.
Wow.
And she was pregnant with my son at the Beijing Games in 2008 when I was there as a track cyclist.
Wow. So we get to know when you have some nice times then just before Olympics clearly happens. If I'm judging that. But I mean, the fact that neither of them were born then to kind of see their father at a Winter Paralympics at least. So, I mean, as you're saying there, this is kind of a unique aspect for them, is that they can finally see what Dad does. Why does Dad always get to do interviews, and why is Dad so known? This is why.
There's all of those things together, and they've both been to a World Triathlon Championships. They've both been involved in, running a marathon and doing some of kind of previous adventures and projects. But as 16 and 19-year-old, this is something that has the potential to last in their memories. Yeah. They're not going at 5 years old. I think it has a lot of potential to be pretty special.
You talk about sort of the aspects of, and I love that way you described it, that skiing's sort of like a gravity-based sport, but there's obviously still physical elements to it. Like, you talk about going to the gym with your son. I mean, what are some of the challenges you found in that level of things and keeping everything along those lines? Like, was there something particularly challenging?
Penny.
I was going to say, is that your wife? Does she want to come in?
Yes, Penny's in the background.
We're just talking about you, Penny. We're just making sure that it was all good, that he's going back. But there's challenge aspects of the gym, like sort of have
podcast.
She's welcome to join if she wants. Like she's more than welcome. But the gym, that's what I'm trying to ask, Michael. The gym, how have you found the physical aspects, the gym aspects, sort of, and all that kind of stuff with the comeback that you've made?
Timing-wise, obviously, starting to think about it in August, we did some extra skiing and some long days, and kind of the physical focus was on snow during that. I came from pretty low level this year. I've always been relatively fit, but after two bad summers, so summer 23, 24, I had bowel cancer. Mm-hmm. We'll talk more about cancer. I'm sure it's going to come up later. But summer 24, 25, I fractured the femur in my stump.
Oh.
I was in Austria skiing on the way to do a ski touring trip from Mont Blanc to the Matterhorn across Switzerland, about a week in the backcountry. And I was preparing for that and had a fall and fractured the femur in my stump. So I was pretty much in bed April, May, June, and then back on snow in July, and then starting to ramp things up in August and September. So, pretty much didn't get to the gym until late September when I kind of finished with the on-snow stuff. And, it's been good training with my son. It's certainly, the body's constantly sore. It's that it's that good sore,
Yeah.
that I've been working hard and my muscles are learning to
You want
deal
to
with
feel
this
that
and
soreness at a
getting
gym sometimes,
stronger.
don't
And
you? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. There's nothing, I don't think of that as a negative soreness. It's just a fact of life. And it's a fact that, I haven't done a lot of strength work in quite a while. And, I'm kind of lucky that as a former athlete that it does perhaps come back a bit quicker. There is some long-term memory in the muscles there. And so, yeah, it's been fun and I can still out bench press my son and hopefully we'll be able to continue that for a little while.
He's a pretty handy cricketer, if I'm not mistaken, though, too. So I can't imagine he's no slouch in
He's
the
very,
gym.
very passionate cricketer, ACT indoor rep teams and loving outdoor season. And yeah, just, as a parent, I don't really care what they're passionate about as long as they've got a passion. And he's passionate about cricket, and that's fantastic. And yeah, I'm a bit of a cricket fan myself too. So yeah, we can have great chats about cricket and strength training.
He gets free trips to Italy. You might get free trips to the Ashes one day. Who knows, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say no to that.
Balances out that way. In terms of just the qualifying, though, I know Jenny sort of touched on sort of things that she had to do sort of in coming back and getting things like ranking points and all those kind of things that she'd obviously been missing for quite some time. Is that similar sort of in the Paralympic world in alpine skiing? I mean, how does that work with qualifying for the Paralympics?
So, able-bodied and Paralympic skiing use the similar point system. So rather than accumulative points where you go to more races and you add up more, it's actually only your best two results that count. And it only depends on how far you are from the winner that counts.
Right.
Ranking wise, after Australian National Championships, I think I'm ranked 32nd in the world in giant slalom,
Wow,
which was
not
good
bad.
results from that day. And there should be about 50 athletes in my class for each discipline at the games. Of course, I don't want to just qualify in one event. I want to have a very solid case for qualifying, and I would like to race 5 events at the games. So there's still some work to be done in terms of the other disciplines. I'm off to Europe and have a couple of weeks on snow training, and then we'll get into a race block and we'll compete in some international level races, and then hopefully qualify in some other disciplines for the World Cup series and be able to move on to kind of that. And so there'll be steps along the way to qualifying for the Paralympic Games. I'm probably pretty lucky at the moment that firstly Australia has 2 men's spots in quota spots for the games, and then there's also possibilities of wildcards on top of that.
Great.
So there's a few options in terms of depending on my ranking and where I'm at and where the other Australian athletes are at, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, we'll just work through those processes and yeah, continue. There's probably 2 pinch days that I've got. The 7th of December, I've got a slalom race, and if I ski well at that and can qualify for World Cup, then that'll be a big step forward. And then the couple of days later, on the 10th of December, I've got a couple of international Super G races. And because Super G, basically the qualification, you qualify in speed or you don't. And speed is 3 races, Super G, downhill, and combined. So if I can qualify in those 2 Super Gs, then I get to race the 2 World Cups the very next day.
Wow, the next
and
day.
Then continue on forwards and yeah, move forwards towards that speed qualification criteria.
Wow, crazy. Backtrack, when you say you're 32nd, basically ranked in the world, though, does that essentially mean you are qualified in at least one event, so that you technically are on the plane right now?
The team doesn't get selected till mid-February.
Right.
But for that discipline, I have met the selection criteria at the moment in terms of the way that I read it and stuff. So, yeah. But, I'd like more than that. I'd like to qualify. And I think potentially Super G would be my best event, potentially at the Games. So, yeah, be looking forwards to that. And, again, I don't think I've skied on a Super G ski in quite a long time now. I think probably 2016 was the last time I strapped on a big board. But the techniques is similar no matter what ski you're on. There are some adaptations and adjustments, but we can make them relatively quickly.
We know you're fast on snow, Michael, based on your world record. So I don't think speed's really too much of a
going in a straight line's a bit different. I mean, when you look at the requirements of automobile racing, a drag car. Go in straight line as fast as possible. Very different shapes, very different technology to a Formula One car, which of course is made to go around a corner as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely some adaptations there that need to be made, and those changes. And I think, historically, I've been good at going fast by going hard, and had the ability to really push those limits and be aggressive, and some of those things. And I think, what I want to achieve now is a bit more flow, a bit more go fast by being relaxed. And certainly around my opportunities at the games, there's going to be other changes from the way that it used to be, in terms of, the games were never that fun in my previous career. They were all about performance, as they should be, and they're all about, medals and achieving goals. And then you get home and you kind of get a chance to reflect on it, and that's when the best time is at the games, is just nervous. And I think this time I have the opportunity to go to the games and be a bit more relaxed and make it fun, and all of those things can come into play a little bit, and really enhance the experience for me.
I love hearing that too. 'Cause again, similar to Jenny, I know before we had her comeback tour, we had her on, a year or so before she announced her comeback, and she had touched on some of her Olympic appearances weren't fun. They were just filled with pressure, and they were some of her worst performances in her career because it was just so much pressure. Whereas now it's sort of different.
Absolutely.
So I love kind of hearing that different mindset, because I guess also you've had a period off the snow where you can reflect, and you're always doing interviews and reflecting on how amazing you have been in your career, that maybe that, I guess, mentally goes into this in a completely different mindset, knowing that, as you said, it's not just all about the medals now, it's looking at it completely differently.
Yeah, that's a part of an extra 20 years of life and maturity, and the natural changes that happen to us all in that period. So, going to a games and doing something different, in terms of performance, in terms of mindset, to me, they're all positives.
And also just the development of Paralympics in general. You first went in 1988 when the Paralympics weren't even part of the Olympics, were they? This was a completely separate event. And now what we're seeing in terms of where they're at, and just even in terms of the coverage and everything that we're seeing in Australian media, worldwide media, I mean, it's come so far in leaps and bounds. I mean, sort of how do you sort of look at where we're at right now with how the Paralympics are covered and treated and everything? And do you think we're at a good point? Is there still more to go? Like, where are we all at with it, do you feel?
I go to the games kind of thinking that I've experienced a lot. Went to my first games in '88, kind of, one era that was definitely different and small, and a lot of the costs were involved on the individual athlete, and we had to buy our green and gold uniforms, and et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously that changed dramatically by the time I retired in 2006, and we saw a very different games and a very different experience. And I'm kind of pretty excited by the opportunity of seeing a third generation of the games, and seeing the evolution and the way that's happened. And obviously, that's on so many levels, whether it be media, when I started as a young athlete, we tended to be a bit more in the community interest section of the newspaper. It's all, oh, isn't it wonderful, this boy with one leg, he can ski. And obviously these days that's evolved and changed. One, newspapers don't exist anymore. But two, it's on the back page. It's on with the sport, and it's not about skiing or anything. It's about being the best skier you can be. It's about being and competing with other athletes from all over the world, and that's where it is heading. It's certainly not at the final form yet. It continues to evolve, and I continue to work hard training people in the media to try and get the language right and not call it the Olympics, and et cetera, et cetera. That sort of stuff still happens. So there's still work to be done. But it's a real privilege to be able to be around still to see that kind of that third era in some ways, the way I look at it, at least.
Well, it was national news when you announced your comeback. This is to me how far it's come. It's the fact that Michael Milton's coming back. It's like, this is national news now. And I don't think it would have been that way probably, maybe even 10 years ago, let alone, 20 or 30.
Yeah, well, we've struggled in the 2006 games because they clashed with the Commonwealth Games in Australia.
That's right, yeah.
So getting media for that Winter Paralympic Games with that clash was one of the real challenges, and really tough. And so, in the end, the Paralympic Games is the third biggest sporting event in the world at a summer level. The winter's a little different. But, like so many people are fans of winter sport because it particularly for Australians, it's so far out of their experience and knowledge, and you see really cool different stuff at the games, and so yeah, all of those kind of things are positives for me.
I always say on this show, Michael, I'm always more of a fan of the winters over the summers. I mean, love the summers.
Me too.
Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but the winters is where it's at. Like it's sort of,
Yeah,
as you touch on there, for Australians, we don't see these sports. So that's why it's sort of always fascinating me. There's so many levels of your career though that just like blow my mind of how, important I think a lot of this is to Australian Paralympic, Olympic history, you name it. A lot of people would probably sit down and go to a trivia night. Who was the first ever Australian athlete to win a gold medal at a Winter Games? Stephen Bradbury, they'd say. Right? Well, you're wrong because, of course, you achieved that in 1992. And the one fact that I also love too is the fact that if you look at all of Australia's Winter Paralympic medals, you've won a third of them, including half of Australia's gold medals at the Winter Paralympics. That is I don't know if you knew that stat.
Throwing out stats I didn't know.
There you go. Put it on the website. Put it on the bio. That'll help with the sponsors. I mean, just insane thing. It said 11 medals in total, including 6 gold. I'm going to jump ahead to a question I usually ask at the end when it comes to this. But what do you do with all the medals, Michael? Because like this is like you need a room, don't you? You probably got a whole shed behind you.
I'm going to get in trouble. I'm probably different to most people, different to some athletes in that way. I have a really bad habit of medals. I know I lost my first one.
Wow.
1992.
Wow.
And it was lost for like 8 months, and I was too worried about it. It'll be somewhere and stuff. Anyway, found it at the bottom of the glove box of the car. Been sitting there for 8 months. I've forgotten it.
Well, there it is.
I did lose permanently a couple, I think. No, 1, 2. Can't even remember. From Salt Lake Games, and then I gave one to my coach. To me, the important part is the experience and the memories and the satisfaction of knowing you've achieved it, and the little piece of metal that goes around your neck. Yeah, I'm a bit take it or leave it.
It's because you've got so many, Michael, right? Because you've got so many.
No, it's not that at all. It's just not an important component of it for me. And don't get me wrong, standing on the podium and hearing the national anthem and those sort of things, they're key parts of those memories. But the actual thing you throw around your neck is just something that is not that important to me.
Interesting. I'm intrigued about the glove box. Was that like you're just trying to find a CD where you're like, oh, there's the Jimmy Barnes CD. Oh, and there's my Paralympic gold medal. There it is.
Yeah, I don't know what I was looking in the glove box for when I found it. I was like, I've been looking for that and wondering where it went.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And when you say you lost some of the Salt Lake ones, do you know how you lost them? It was just life happened and they just got lost?
So each day you won a medal, and I'd get back to my room with it and I'd throw it in the back of the undies drawer.
Wow.
And literally, that's where it was.
Yep.
And then near the end of the games, you got given some beautiful boxes and stuff to put them in and things. And I just kind of chucked the boxes in the corner. And I think at some stage when I was packing, I went, well, the medals are in the boxes. Let's grab them. And 2 of them were and 2 of them weren't. And some were, I don't know, falling down the back of the undies drawer or something, and that's where they stayed.
There's a volunteer in Salt Lake City who's got something in their possession, probably cleaning that room afterwards then.
I think it was only one. I think I lost one because I'm pretty sure I have 2. But then I couldn't tell you where they are now. They could be at my mum's house. They could be somewhere else. I have no idea.
I actually
I know it's different, but it's just
But this is the thing, Michael. This is why I love asking this question. I think a lot of people think I'm just like got this long list where I'm planning to break into all our guests' houses and steal them. That's not what I'm doing. But like seriously, like for the most part, because I think people listening and watching probably think, oh, you've got it on display. They're in a museum. But majority of Olympians and Paralympians similar. They're just, it's just in a drawer. It's just there. It's sitting there. It blew my mind recently when Ian Thorpe said that all of his were in a bank vault and he doesn't see them. He's, 25th anniversary of Sydney. I just went and had a look and here they are, pristine and shiny. He's like, no, Ian, get them out. Show them off. Come on.
I have to say that one of the interesting parts about this comeback for me was I got old boxes out of the back of the garage when I started training and looking for a few things. And one of the things I was looking for was a jumper, and it was a a part of my 1994 Paralympic Games uniform,
Hmm.
and it's a slalom jumper. So it's got pads in it, and it's an old favourite. I just wore it every day from the 94 Games. Every time I skied slalom, I wore it until early September this year when I started doing some slalom training and I couldn't find it and I had no idea where it was. And anyway, talking to a few people, talking around the place, we worked out it was in a museum in Melbourne,
Oh, wow.
Paralympics Australia Museum in Essendon.
Great.
And so I give the museum a call and get my slalom jumper back so I can wear it in training this winter and and then hopefully race at the games in it again.
Do they let you? Because it's your jumper, right? So I guess they're just like, of course, Michael, here it is.
It's my jumper. It doesn't have any logos on it.
Yep.
It conforms to Paralympic rules. I definitely need permission from the Australian team to change that uniform a little bit.
Yep.
But it's not uncommon within Paralympic circles. You know, there's customized padding and bits and pieces. And so, I'll have green and gold suit on and then this 94 piece, which is wool, which is great because it's made it super durable. The lycra on the outside of it is a bit tatty and falling off and stuff. But
Got the meaning.
I've got it back in my hands and I'm looking forward to wearing it again.
Great. I'm sure you always get asked what your favourite gold or your most memorable gold. I want to ask more about what your favourite Paralympics were because we like hearing about the experiences, you know, outside of necessarily the competing. So things like village life and are you bumping into, you know, celebs and just overall of all the Paralympics you went in, and shove in Beijing, of course, as well, because of course you did go to a Summer Paralympics as well.
Yeah, we mentioned I've never had a fun game. I'm going to have to say the Milano Cortina 2026 games will be my most fun ever.
There you go. Good answer.
When when I think back, you know, Beijing within the cycling team, I wouldn't call it fun. There was definitely some challenges there in adapting from being a skier to a cyclist, and there was also commitments and work. You know, I didn't stay at the games till closing because I had to come back and work. So there was some things like that. The Salt Lake Games was my most successful, but at the same time, I was pretty much in a hotel room with my coach away from the village, etc. Pretty intense environment in many ways for most of the time. And then, you know, back before then, you know, 92's got to be fun.
There's got to be a bit of fun
92.
somewhere. 92.
Yeah, you know, 92 was fun. We're in Teen in France. It was just good fun. There's lots of cool stuff happening. You know, a lot of the people around me within the sport, people who really founded disabled skiing in Australia. Ron Finneran comes to mind, who was also CEO of the Paralympics Australia for a long time. And anyway, you know, they'd been fighting for the sport for a long time, whether it be government funding, corporate support, etc. And I think a lot of time the response was, you know, when you win some medals, then, you know, you'll have a leg to stand on and come and talk to us. And so 92 was our first ever winter team medals. I won gold and silver. Dave Monk won bronze. Michael Norton won bronze. So we had three athletes winning medals and we came home and just the team atmosphere around this celebration, because the whole team had been successful, because the administrators and people who'd been putting in for such a long time were so happy because now they could go back and you know, give it back to all these people who'd said, come back and see us when you've got some medals. And so, yeah, a lot of that sort of stuff was very cool and very fun. And the games in the village was pretty small and pretty contained, and we got to know lots of people. And yeah, you know, the party at the end was massive, and then it was brutal because we had a bus leaving at like 4 a.m. after closing ceremony. And so we packed everything up, and then we'd been out all night, didn't sleep at all, got in the bus at 4 and had the world's most brutal flight, you know, 3-hour bus ride to Zurich. And then we had this silly leg home. It was like Zurich, New York, LA, Sydney.
Wow.
And yeah. But yeah, 92, I had the most fun at the moment. But I'm aiming to beat that in 2026.
How was Sochi in 2014? Because I believe you went as a coach. So how does that compare going as a coach to a very unique Paralympics, of course, in Russia versus some of the other locations I'm sure you've been to?
Yeah, so I was assistant coach on the Sochi Games and involved and working with Steve Graham, who used to be my coach, and he was the head coach. So we worked really well together, and we had a team of some really strong athletes. Toby Kane was there and won a medal, and he's actually going to be assistant chef de mission for the 26th game. So
from coach, you're his boss, and now he's going to be your boss.
Jess Gallagher skied well, and Ben Tudhope, first games for him at a very young age. He beat my record as the youngest ever Winter Paralympian from Australia.
You'll get the oldest one on him. He's going to keep going a long time to get to that one, right?
I might hold that record for quite a while.
Do it. Sorry, Ben, you can't have all the age records.
Until we get some curling in there. True. And then I have a feeling like maybe the curlers might be older. Anyway, we'll see. The 2014 games, Russia was definitely interesting. Obviously, I'd never been there before. There's definitely some challenges, and the timing of it was pretty average with, some skirmishes over in Crimea and international condemnation of Russia and some of those sorts of things. And then perhaps the most interesting part happened when I opened Netflix a year after and saw a documentary. And I'm going to have to ask you, it wasn't Invictus. What's the documentary called?
Oh, was this not the one on all the drug cheating? The Russian?
Yeah. It was one of the most interesting sports docos you'd ever seen. Because it was an American guy, cyclist, who wanted to dope up and do well in masters cycling. And he found this Russian, and then they got together and they started being pals and got nice. And then the Russian guy kind of confessed to him. And instead of this documentary being about this guy doping up to cycle at a whole level, it kind of got a lot broader and really opened up some of the issues within Russian sport. And then looking back at the athletes who were dominating my sport of alpine skiing, and kind of
your green lights went off.
Yeah, it was really intriguing. I'm going to have to look that up now after this.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I know what you're talking about it. Yeah, no, I do remember.
Starts with an I. Yeah. Anyway. Sochi was a really interesting experience. It was my only games as a staff member, it was good from an Australian point of view and some good results. I enjoyed the experience.
I'm glad you mentioned Ben. We had him recently on, and he told a great story. You were talking about your partying, but his partying, he said, after Beijing involved him getting a drunken haircut from one of his teammates at about 4 a.m, which he said maybe didn't turn out to be a good idea, although his mum liked the haircut, so he wasn't too disappointed at the end. Did you ever get a drunken haircut sort of with your partying shenanigans at any of your games at all?
No, I can't say my hair was ever that much in my thoughts when I was celebrating post-game. I have to say I'd rather a drunken haircut than a drunken tattoo because, difference between a good and bad haircut's only a week. The difference between a good and bad tattoo is most significantly longer.
Are you trying to tell us you've got a drunken tattoo, Michael? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. To clarify that one then, just to make sure with that one. I mean, sort of, you touched on before sort of some of the challenges you've gone through, and particularly the last couple of years. But I mean, one thing I'll say that I got out of that interview that I re-listened to that I did with you back when I was very young was you at that point, I believe, had just gotten into motivational speaking. So this was, I think, 2010 around then. So you to me seem like the perfect person for motivational speaking, Michael, because of everything that you've sort of achieved, but mixed with everything you've overcome, because 3 times you've overcome cancer, among many other things you've done so. So like, I mean, how important is it for you to be able to talk to people, talk about overcoming everything you've overcome that could maybe help somebody else out there sort of overcoming the challenges that they're obviously facing in life as well?
Yeah, I think, we all know somebody who's had cancer. And for most of those people, when they think about the worst day of their life, it's the day they were diagnosed with cancer, the day a doctor said, you've got something that could kill you and it could all be over very soon. And I guess I consider myself a bit of an expert in those days because I've had 3 of them. Not a lot, but obviously hugely impacting in my life. And the first one at age 9 with bone cancer, the second one at age 35 with esophageal cancer, and then the third one at age 50 with bowel cancer. And so, I am in a bit of a unique position because it's not the same cancer coming back or anything. It's 3 different locations, 3 different types, cell types in the tumour, et cetera. And each one's been different in terms of treatment, and what you go through, surgery, the impact on your body. But there's no doubt that each one's effects in many ways are cumulative. And so, there's daily challenges there of whether it be managing nutrition, and bowel function, and just making the day work well, whether it be probably the biggest impact it has on me is that post-cancer fatigue stuff, which grows each time. I probably didn't feel it after the first one. After the second one, it was something that needed to be managed. And after the third one now, it's something that I need to keep a really close eye on, that I can kind of make my efforts sustainable to not just go too hard and then blow up and wind up in bed recovering for 3 days. So some of those sort of things have a huge impact on me. And it's actually one of the real motivators for me in this comeback, in terms of being back, trying to be an athlete, training, getting fit, getting strong, making my body function to the best it can. And it's fun feeling back out doing training stuff and feeling fit and strong again, that feeling my body's working well again. So all of these things come together to mean that, motivational speaking and talking about life's experiences, about challenges, about toughness, about resilience, are some things that certainly are another component of this comeback, probably more post-games than anything else. But I'm pretty easy to find at michaelmilton.com, and be open and available if anybody wants to hear from me about my story. And so, cancer is definitely always going to be a big part of that story. But as I get older, it becomes an even bigger part.
I appreciate the website. I always thank our guests who have a good website, because it makes
a little bit of self-promotion. It's one of the key skills of being an athlete.
I wouldn't dare say you shouldn't self-promote whatever you want on this show, Michael. Like, I mean, God, we sell our souls all the time. So, it's completely fine. But I mean, you sort of touched on something I wanted to ask there in terms of what, if I'm talking to you again in a few months after March 2026, after you've been to the Paralympics, like, what do you want to achieve? I mean, it sounds like a dumb question in a way, but I'm sure it's a unique question that you're going to answer differently to if it was your first Paralympics versus what will be your seventh.
There's a number of goals there. I want to make life fun and challenging, with the choices that I make, and I tend to choose goals and challenges. I want to maintain the relationships and provide for my family. And these kind of projects, particularly Winter Paralympic Games, I think you need to be very creative and look at lots of different areas to be able to achieve some of those goals. If you're going to, make it so, or create an environment where you can pay for what you're doing, because they're expensive. They don't get huge amounts of media. There's no direct prize money, et cetera, et cetera. So some of those kind of goals, but I want to continue challenging myself. I'd love to think maybe in, the winter of 26, 27, I can go back to that failed trip across Switzerland and go back and ski what's called the Haute route, touring route across Switzerland. And that's definitely on the goals. And it's very natural that when you don't achieve a goal that you keep trying until you do. Certainly I remember a speed skiing season, not skiing at 200 kilometers an hour and not achieving my goal. And that year was all about how do I achieve that goal? And then, in the end, I came back and smashed through it and went 210.4 and had a really good speed ski season, partly because the one previous was so bad. There's definitely things I want to achieve, but I want to be fit and function as well as possible in the time I've got left. In the end, I want to squeeze the marrow out of life, and I want to do as much as I can with the time I've got left. And a part of having 3 cancers is a belief that it's probably when and not if for number 4 and number 5. And, one of those two is likely to get me. So let's make the most of what we can do while we can do it.
Great answer. And I was going to add there that it's like you've got to, do you have a frequent card when you go to the doctors, like 20th visit free, basically, with the amount of times I'm sure you've got to keep going, or, No,
I keep a few membership cards in my wallet, okay. But cancer membership is not one.
Not one. No, it's not Pokemon. You're not trying to collect them all. Essentially, it's like what we're trying to obviously say with that. But I think all jokes aside, though, Michael, it's inspiring to hear that after all of that you're still here. I mean, you're coming back again, you're doing this and just pushing towards it because it yeah, as you said, like worst day of people's lives when they hear those words, and obviously for your family as well, it's obviously very challenging, your friends, everybody along those lines. So I'm sure that, you know, them saying, oh, free trip to Italy, Dad, great, you know, but at the end of the day, it's probably a lot more meaningful for them considering what they've obviously had to support you through to even see you just, you know, say you want to go there. That must be a massive thing for them as well.
Absolutely. You know, when you think about that and you think about, you know, your own mortality and the impact on your children's lives, you know, I feel pretty grateful that I'm still here now and they're coming towards adulthood and they didn't lose their dad at a young age. And, you know, but creating those kind of memories that they're going to remember forever is, of course, an important part of it.
I also want to say, too, bookending it with Italy. Now, obviously, the last Winter Paralympics you did were in Italy, and then these ones are going to be in Italy, exactly 20 years apart as well. They both end in the number 6. I see symmetry going on here, Michael. Like, are you a believer?
Symmetry's overrated.
It's overrated? It's overrated? You just
symmetry's absolutely overrated.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be as I am, more right.
I'm glad you can say it, not me, because, you know, I don't want to get myself into trouble, but I'll let you do all those sort of jokes. But, I mean, obviously fond memories of Turin outside of what you were talking about before in terms of your other Paralympic experiences, but, like, you don't look at it in that way, that kind of like it's kind of meant to be coming back Italy, 06, 20, all this sort of stuff?
No. You know, I mean, if we're going to be symmetrical and look at patterns and stuff, I'd be looking for 15 because that's the number I can count to before I run out of fingers and toes, as opposed to your 20. You told me to bring them all out, so here we go. But
I want you to keep going. This is gold. I love it.
I've got to say, I was, you know, I was quite surprised. Like I've been, you know, when I retired in 2006, I was kind of over ski racing. And over some elements of skiing, you know, I was just overexposed to skiing, and I had skiing opportunities that I said no to, and you know, we did a little bit of skiing, and when I went to Thredbo, I'd kind of want to go backcountry or do something a bit pretty different, and so although the passion is there, that's lifelong. It definitely goes in waves and evolves and changes, and these kind of things often go full circle. And going from ski racing into more skiing with my family and ski touring in different areas of skiing, and now it's back to racing. I think is quite natural in some ways. Yeah, I've wandered on. I've totally forgot the question here.
Don't worry. It was something about the symmetry and the 06s and the Italies.
Oh, yeah,
and
symmetry and patterns and like, you know, I was surprised when I made this decision. I was surprised I was motivated to do it. I was surprised in the way that it kind of happened. And some people around me who know me really well have just gone, you know, I could see this come from a mile away. I didn't. For whatever reason.
I know you better than you know yourself, apparently.
Apparently. But, you know, at the same time, I'm here and I'm motivated and I'm keen and really looking forward to getting overseas and getting training and getting my teeth into this.
What I heard there as well is that basically we're going to be talking to you in the lead up to the French Alps in 2030, Salt Lake City in 2034. I mean, there might be a summer appearance again in Brisbane 2032, like, you know.
No, I'm shaking my head. My wife's here shaking my head.
She's going, no, don't put ideas in his head.
I'm definitely not going to announce an official retirement after this game, so I'm just kind of assume that everybody knows
John
I'm
Farnham it, right? Just be John Farnham. Oh, I'm retiring, and then, you know, come back like 30 different times going along those lines. Actually, just on home Paralympics, obviously we just celebrated 25 years of Sydney 2000. I mean, one of my fond memories of the Paralympics back in 2025 was the opening ceremony, you with Louise Savage, all those kind of moments and that sort of stuff. And we touched on not really maybe having a lot of fun when it comes to competing at the Paralympics, but I can imagine being in Stadium Australia, Louise Savage, home Paralympics, that's got to be up there as one of the best memories you've ever had.
You asked me about my favourite Paralympic experience, and I just went naturally to the ones that I'd performed in.
Yeah.
But you know, I worked on the Sydney Paralympic Games in the education program for nearly a year and a half. And then I worked in Sydney, didn't ski much that winter, but worked in Sydney on the Games. And you know, I definitely had a ball during the Sydney Games. And that was on so many levels, whether it be, you know, really cool and funky stuff. I was working, I had a responsibility for nearly 2 kilometres of unload area, and it was performer unload and and disability entry and a few things like that. And I was on a rollerblade for 8 hours, just zooming up and down this 2 kilometers of
Wow.
road, checking in with my team, responding to radio calls, et cetera, et cetera. And, that was super fun. And then I remember during during one of the opening ceremony rehearsals, there was this massive line at disability entry and there were issues and stuff. And I went under the stadium and stole a people mover golf cart and started shuffling people around. We just did fun stuff at the Paralympics. We're in Centennial Park, and I had my volunteer crew on the road cycling event. They were all over the show on the road cycling, and I was had everything under pretty control. It was all working really well, and so I got some sausages and bread and cranked up a barbecue, and then had some of my crew on bikes delivering sausage sandwiches to my volunteers all over the
Wow.
road cycling courses. We just did cool stuff, and it was fun. And so I changed my answer to earlier and go the Sydney Games
Yeah.
is the most fun for me.
I didn't hear that
And
answer
it
before.
totally motivates me to do something in Brisbane.
Well, I was going to ask
in
you,
2032.
would the plan be to try and
Yeah.
help out with Brisbane if you're asked, or you can as well?
I'd love to be there doing something. Yeah, if anybody listening to this wants to give me a job in Brisbane in 2032,
Call him.
absolutely.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah, let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
And I was there, I had an opportunity to speak at an event for Brisbane 2022, just a little private event with the government and some athletes and stuff a few weeks ago. And certainly talking to some of the government ministers and getting a feel for where their plans are going and stuff. There's so much excitement about Brisbane 2032 and the excitement that we had for Sydney. I'm confident that we can repeat it again and really make those games special.
Unique aspect that we're going to have two in our lifetime, essentially, Michael, isn't it? That
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember growing up hearing stories about Melbourne, thinking like, wow, Olympics in your backyard. And here we are.
That's older than even me.
Exactly, right? So, that's sort of how far back that goes with that. Michael, we're going to get to know you fun questions to wrap it up in just a moment. One thing you brought up before, your daughter helping you out with website, social media, things like that. I love your social media. I love your Instagram. It's so informative. It's so fun. And I think it's just like a great capture point to do that. I mean, that obviously didn't exist in 1988 when you were going off to your first Paralympics. Do you find it fun though? Like, is it something unique and fun that you kind of get enjoyment doing?
Look, I'm not passionate about it. I don't love it. At times it can be fun. I had a video from before nationals doing some training and got 90,000 views and stuff, and that sense of satisfaction of knowing that you're creating something that people see and that opens up people's worlds in some ways, or maybe has the potential to open up people's worlds if somebody, some one-legged kid who goes, oh, skiing could be fun, and from seeing that sort of potential makes a difference. At times I have fun doing it with my wife and my daughter, but it's not something I'm super into and want to kind of.
We're into it. The people watching it are, Michael, so we love it.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to do a good job of it and create some content and continue to get some video I think we can make it fun, and I think I can do okay with it. But it's not my area of professionalism, and at the same time, I don't probably have the audience size on that channel that I would have if my career was 20 years later. And this Games has potential to grow that a little bit and try and give value to my sponsors and try and let people know what I'm up to and what I think and hopefully learn some life lessons from that. So there's definite potential positives, but I'm not in love with creating content.
Well, I was going to say, get drunk with Ben in Milano Cortina and shave each other's heads.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's an option.
Film it.
Yeah, I got drunk with teammate vision impaired skier Bart Bunting after the 2002 Games.
Yep.
And he got legless and I got blind. So
I do have a soundboard here, which I should be
uh,
playing drum rolls, but I'm clearly not on the ball as much as you are, Michael.
I'm a dad. I've got to bring out the dad jokes.
We want the dad jokes.
Disability jokes, disability and dad jokes, they just go hand in hand. They work well together.
And it's also, I'm so used to now interviewing kids on this show, Michael. I mean, Ben's still a kid. Like, everyone's younger than me. So the rare opportunity I get someone older than me. I mean, I was 1 year old when you went to your first Paralympics, so I can actually sit here and feel young for once. So thank you.
Yeah.
Just for the other thing actually I wanted to ask, because it brought a flashback of memory to me. In that 2010 interview I did with you, you brought up that you had done the Mark Webber Challenge. And of course, as I said to you off air, I'm from Tasmania and I used to always love the Mark Webber Challenge. I'm a big F1 guy, so obviously every time Webber came to Australia, to Tassie, I was very happy. But what was that experience like, getting to go alongside Mr. Webber and in his challenge he used to do back in the day?
It was a great event. We had a great time. It was definitely challenging physically to do that. We made some great mates and stuff, and had some good fun times in Tassie. I think I went on a Steve Waugh captain's charity bike ride around Tassie, and really enjoyed that experience. And then at the end, my son had his birthday, and we played cricket with Mark Webber and Steve Waugh in the driveway of the hotel.
That's all right.
For his birthday. So
pretty good birthday present.
There's definitely some cool things that's happened in Tassie, but that Mark Webber challenge was just awesome. There was one tough section. There was must have been day 3. We were running, and it was this sandy, beachy surface with these big heathers on each side with grass and stuff, and then there was a deep dip into this track.
Wow.
And the two-legged guys are just running through it, and I'm just struggle city because my crutches wouldn't fit in the groove. They were up on the grass, so I was kind of going up and over and kind of almost doing butterfly running.
Wow.
It was so slow, and we're falling behind and stuff. It was definitely tough and physical, but yeah, lots of fun. Unfortunately, the year I was there, Mark had a crash and broke his leg.
My next question, I was going to say, was that the year that he tried to join you in the Paralympics, basically, by doing something to his leg?
And I think his F1 team went, well, you can't run that event again, can you?
Yeah, Red Bull weren't too happy, I don't think.
So, yeah. But yeah, great opportunity to go down and have fun in Tassie and go on an adventure, and that kind of adventure race format was great fun, and I was fit, and yeah, it worked really well.
It was always great to cover when I was doing the radio stuff at the time, and yeah, because after that year, he never came back and did it again. That was the end of the Mark Webber Challenge. It was about 3 or 4 years, I think, before that, and then nope, bye-bye, Mark. Although I remember when I interviewed him not long after that, I jokingly said, because I think the year after was when it was like, that was 2009, so 2010 he went for the World Championship the year after. So I'm like, is this basically the secret? You break your leg and you go for the World Championship, and yeah.
Well, if that's true, I broke my leg in March. So next year I'm going to do well at the game.
Hey, I'm bringing you facts today, Michael. You're welcome, right?
Yeah.
You can motivational speaking, resumes, your daughter's videos with you as well. Like, you're welcome. That's what we do here on Off the Podium. We also, Michael, wrap up with a set of lovely 10 get-to-know-you questions, which are all standardized to all our guests.
Hit me.
Easy, hard,
Haven't you been
deep?
asking me questions this whole chat?
Oh.
What's different about these 10?
Those were crap. These are great. These are structured, and people like these. People skip forward to the end of this. Don't worry, Michael.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's make sure we give a strong finish, so they have to watch the whole thing and come to the end and for the good part.
You're welcome back on this show anytime, Michael. You get how it works. The one thing that you never leave home without when traveling to a competition. You can't answer things like skis or, crutches or things like that.
I'm a bit of an everyday carry nut. Tools and head torches and things like that. Going back to ski racing, I'm going to say the most important piece of equipment that I take with me to a ski race is a cup.
A cup,
as in a groin cup,
right?
A box, a protector, whatever you want to call it.
That is one we've never been answered, but a very obvious answer, I feel.
Very important.
Yes,
and it's the thing, because I only use it in slalom, which is one of the 5 disciplines. So I'm only using it some days. It's the thing I forget. And the question was something you should take every day. I should actually take it and just have it there every day, just in case. Because of all the ski equipment, I might forget. That's probably number 1 on the list. And of all the things that just hurt the most when you do forget it, that's definitely number 1.
I'm sensing a trend here based on what you said with the medals, that you like to forget a lot of things, Michael. But I guess that's the one that when you realize you've forgotten, it's the worst, because I'm guessing when one of those poles hits you in the crutch, like, oh shit, I knew I forgot something. There it is. Ouch.
Yeah. You got to balance and make the next turn, and the whole bending over and groaning and doing that all at the same time. Just
because it's funny because my first, as a kid, watching the Nagano Olympics when Zali won the bronze, and that was my first real education on slalom, when I think she explained that you're almost like boxing the poles and sort of explain the equipment. I'd never thought about other parts besides that. That's quite important.
Two-legged people don't have to worry about it, because, it's kind of in the middle there, and the gates can never get there. It's only one-legged skiers with short stumps that actually
Wow.
have the issue.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm.
You've got a longer stump you've got to protect, basically, is what you're saying there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Very interesting. Hope your wife's listening to that part. The question number 2, a tradition or superstition you follow before every big competition.
Oh, I used to have superstitions, but they all broke. You know, you'd follow a superstition and then it wouldn't work anymore, or something would happen. So I'm going to go. I'm just not superstitious at
That's
all,
a
and I don't
superstition.
have any
Yeah.
superstitions anymore. Um, you know, I used to have favourite pair of undies I'd wear, and then I'd ski slow in them one day, and then they were broken. I couldn't wear them again. Um, I'd have to ski slalom in my slalom jumper.
Okay. That works.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier.
Yep.
I think that's probably the only thing I'm a little bit superstitious about, but in general, no.
I'm glad they're giving it back to you. I'm actually glad that that's sort of like a thing.
Yeah.
Of course you can, Michael.
Yeah.
Here's your jumper.
I think I've got to give it back to them when I'm done again.
Well, it might get lost.
We'll see.
Oopsie.
Anything's possible. I'm still the owner.
Yeah.
I'll
Bloody
we'll
jumper.
see.
Come on. They can give them some medals. I'm sure that will calm them down. You keep the jumper. Give them some, if you can find them first, give them some medals, A song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists, no matter what.
I don't do pre-competition playlists.
No?
Yeah.
Do you have any songs that pump you up in any capacity, though? Is it like a go-to
Look,
song?
there's a couple of things that come to mind. We were driving into the Paralympic Village in 1988 and listening to old, pretty daggy Austrian radio, and Men at Work Down Under came on.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole band was rocking, and it was a pretty cool memory driving in the village and listening Down Under. I tend to be a bit of an old school Aussie rock fan. AC/DC, It's a Long Way to the Top. I've used that at times, and that's been good. Midnight Oil, King of the Mountain. Just fits in with me, and I love the song. But no, there is no single song that I must have in a playlist because I don't have a playlist.
Well, but
I'm old and very uncool.
But Michael, again, no disrespect to you. I have my greatest respect for you and everything you've achieved. But again, having someone older than me on the show, when they say old school music, to me is old school music. Not when I get somebody on now. I listen to old school music like the Backstreet Boys. I'm like, shut up! Like that's not old school. I'm not that old. Come on, what are you talking about?
Oil, Zakadaka, Men at Work.
There you go. Yeah, like stuff my dad listened to that I grew up on. That's what I like, Michael. That's what I like to hear. The most unexpected or funny direct message you have ever received? Maybe, I don't know if your daughter is going through your inbox or you're checking your inbox, but what's some have you ever gotten a really weird message on your social media before?
I have not.
No?
And I'm gonna have to tell a story now.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna tell a real life story of a very cool interaction the other day that I had.
Good.
That's nothing to do with DMs.
That's fine.
So I went into a meeting and there was a guy there, working, holding boxes.
Okay.
Young guy, Down syndrome, had headphones on. Obviously didn't want to interact with other people and stuff, and that's fine. And I've walked into the room and I've said hello to him. He didn't hear me, and that's fine. And as I've kind of walked in with one leg, he's looking at me. And he's just looking, and you can kind of tell he's thinking and processing. And after standing there looking at each other for about 30 seconds with a lot of silence while I'm waiting for this meeting, he came up with a single word which totally encapsulates what he was thinking and is really clever and it's fantastic. He just said, couch.
Wow.
And that was it. And it was just one of the coolest short interactions that I've had in a long time, and just was very cool and, very clever.
Great. I mean, look. That story wins that question.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, there's another guy at the gym the other day, and he's come up and he's asked me, do people offer to help you a lot? And I'm going, yeah. And he's gone, do you mind if people offer to help you? And I said, oh, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And he said, do you want some help? I went, no.
Wow. So he wants to ask you for help, but he's like making it like a lighter way of asking.
Framed it in a pretty clever way.
Well, that's actually not bad in a way, isn't it? So,
yeah.
Okay, clever. I like that. You're going to have fun with the question I'm going to get to at one point actually around that one. I like the thought of that one.
Because I'm not doing well here.
No, you're actually doing very well, Mike. You're doing great. This is unique. The weirdest thing you've ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
I have competed in Beijing, at a World Triathlon Champs and Paralympic Games, but both times I'm not an exotic food lover. I definitely have been to some races in Switzerland, and they've had some, bolt raclette or fondue or something. Basically, they're expecting you at a World Cup race the next day on cheese and bread, and didn't really cut it for me. It wasn't what I was looking for, and I had to go after the World Cup opening ceremony and the dinner and stuff. I've got to go out and find some food.
Yep.
And I wasn't the only one. I think I remember going to the World Sports Awards in Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
Super fancy, super big. There was a fundraising dinner, and they were on $9.75 million raised, and they were wondering how they're going to get to 10. So they went and said, Ronaldo, chuck a jersey in and let's sell it for $250,000. And so they did that, got to their 10 million.
Wow.
And they're sponsored by, Mercedes. You go outside your hotel, the whole event's just got 400 Mercedes cars with drivers. So you just go out the front of your hotel and show them your ID, and these Mercedes drivers will take you anywhere you want to go. It's super fancy, and obviously super fancy dinners. And I remember at this, it was like 3 days of stuff going on. And seriously, the end of the second day, I had to go to Macca's to feel normal.
This is the thing that I love about hearing that sort of stuff, because people give McDonald's a bad name, but there are some times when you are in a place and you see a McDonald's, and I know they're not Australian, I realize they're American, but it almost feels like home, doesn't it? It's like, oh, McDonald's, I know what time I'm going to get there, right? Simple.
Yep. We should talk about it. I don't need it anymore, but at times.
Were they at the Paralympic villages back when they used to sponsor the Olympics, or did they stick around for the Paralympics?
They certainly were in the Beijing Games,
yep.
Dining Hall, but I've never seen maybe Salt Lake there was one.
Okay.
There wasn't in Torino.
I think since Rio, they've not been a sponsor of the Olympics. I just didn't know if they stuck around for the Paralympics or not. So it's been a while that we're almost in a new generation where a lot of our Olympians and Paralympians have never experienced it. All you can eat McDonald's at an Olympic and Paralympic Games. So sad, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
no, not really. Not sad at all, actually.
Was that the Monaco? Was that where you won the World Disability Athlete of the Year? Was that one?
Yeah, so that was the Laureus World Sports Awards, and I won World Athlete of the Year with a disability in 2003 for my performances in 2002. So yeah.
Did you bump shoulders with the one, the only Mr. Michael Schumacher? Because I know he used to go there and win a couple of those every now and then.
No.
Okay.
I did have a very interesting. We talked about partying a bit. I did have a very interesting round of drinks. There were 4 of us there. Mm-hmm. It must have been close to dawn. We're talking 5 a.m. And 4 interesting people, 2 Austrians, Niki Lauda.
Oh, wow.
And Hermann Maier.
Oh, wow.
Famous ski racer.
Yeah.
And then 2 Australians, Mick Doohan and myself.
Wow. That's an all right drinking session.
it was a good little shout. And I think for whatever reason, Hermann Maier bought the drinks, and he's gone up to order, and the guy's given him the bill. And basically, it was like €50 without alcohol and €100 with alcohol. So it's like this $250 shout, whatever.
Yeah.
And basically, Herman's response to the bill was "Spinstu," which is German for "Are you crazy?" And then he had to pay the bill. Anyway, at the end of this round, for whatever reason, we were pretty drunk, and we got into this scar competition, and we started showing our scars. Hermann Maier had nearly lost his leg 18 months before it. He's pulled his jeans up and showed his scars and pointing out some stuff. And Mick Doohan's gone, this and there's metal here and et cetera, et cetera. And then I dropped my Dax and got my stump out and waggling that around. And then Niki Lauda took his hat off and won the competition.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, look, to be fair, Mike, if you want to lose, a scar competition, Niki Lauda's not a bad person to lose it to. So,
yeah.
What an incredible story. See, you think you're failing at these. I didn't ask you a question about international competition, and you brought up Niki Lauda pulling off his hat, showing that wins it. Hands down. All right? You're kicking ass in this one, Michael. We're on food still. Your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after a competition.
Potato scallops with salt and vinegar.
Okay, I'll pass the fact you called them a scallop and not a cake, but I'll ignore that.
Okay, right. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Same thing. Got to wait till I come home after the games for one, but absolutely, I'm there with bells on.
This is the thing that I'm sure you get a lot when you're overseas for a long period of time. Oh, do you miss Vegemite? Do you miss standard You can get that shit in stores overseas, right? It's not that hard to find. The stuff you miss are the potato scallops / cakes. I miss good old dim sim from your corner store 5 for $2. You can't buy that anymore. That was as a kid, but like
but
trashy food.
You know, there's things I miss from the other countries too. You know, like I'll be looking forward to training in the US in February and go and have some good buffalo wings.
Oh yeah, right.
Buffalo wings, and I'll be going to Austria and training, and I'll be looking to a good feed of Kaiserschmarrn, which is like a traditional cut up pancake kind of dish.
Okay.
Got some dried fruit, applesauce on the top.
That sounds good.
Sounds like a dessert, but they eat it as lunchtime meal.
Yep.
Rocks.
Anyway. Yeah. I mean, a bit of a connection to Canada, and I miss a good poutine. None of this crap that we get in Australia.
Yep.
Plenty of American.
We've got a Canadian.
So
we've got a Canadian restaurant here in Canberra that does poutine.
Do they? I love hearing the words Canadian restaurant in a sentence. That's they're actually
Canadian bar restaurant.
There used to be one in Bondi that did a decent poutine, and then I remember in Hobart there was a burger chain because of course technically poutine is technically illegal in Australia because cheese curds are technically illegal in Australia, but when they import the proper ones and they actually taste like proper. None of these chains who there's one here in Melbourne who have on the menu poutine. But it's literally just grated cheese. It's not poutine. That's just loaded fries. Like you're offending the Quebecois. You don't offend the Quebecois, Michael. Come on, we know that.
No, well, they're big, strong hockey players. Don't offend them.
Right? They'll come for you there. If you could swap sports, I mean, this is a tricky one to ask you because you've done like 20,000 different sports, so you basically have answered this question. But if you could swap sports for a day, a sport you haven't done with another Paralympian, what event would you choose, and how do you think you'd fare?
Sport I haven't done. I'm going ice sledge hockey.
Yes.
I'm following the Canadian sledge hockey. So when you started to ask this question, I was going to come out with rollerblading, but I'm a rollerblader and I didn't understand. But when I was in my teens and early 20s, I used to play heaps of rollerblade hockey.
Okay.
And we had a great team with friends and, we went, the ACT team, we got flogged, but we went to national champs in the Gold Coast. We had to drive up on the bus, as in a little minibus with us sharing the driving, and we rocked up there at like 3 a.m, and we couldn't check into a hotel till lunchtime, and it was just a very cool mates trip, and had lots of fun playing rollerblade hockey.
Right.
And so the closest to that is going to be ice sledge hockey, one of the sports of the Paralympic Games.
Yeah.
Australia won't have a team at the Games. We did have a women's team go to World Champs for the first time earlier this year with some Paralympic legends in it, including Brett Cooper.
Oh, wow.
I know Lisa Tesh is a fan of playing ice sledge hockey. And, the idea of playing a sport that you can just slam into people and knock them over is hugely appealing.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple of sledge hockey players on the show over the years, and I mean, I'm an ice hockey nut, so any form of hockey on ice, I absolutely love. So, we need more Australian representation in some of these sports. So, good to hear that we've got something going out there. So, there you go.
Yep.
8th Olympics in French Alps for you. Paralympics, come on, get on the sledge. Yeah, sorry, your wife's listening. She's getting angry at me. I shouldn't keep putting these ideas in your head. If your Paralympic journey were a movie, Michael, what would the title be and who would play you?
Oh, crikey.
You can get your wife in answer this one if you want.
I'm going to pick some good-looking actor and pretend that I'm attractive and not old. And
Does the wife have like the dream actor that maybe she's wishing is going to play you, and then you could just answer that to keep her happy?
No, I'm going Danny DeVito at the
moment. That's a good answer.
Okay, let's go with Arnold Schwarzenegger as the actor.
Yep.
And the title would have to be.
We usually have ChatGPT to help us out right now.
The man who belted his head against a brick wall.
The man who belted his head against a brick wall. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell you what I'll do. Yeah. We usually.
You're not giving me much time on this. No, well, something really good.
I will be honest.
Oh, hang on. So, I'm not very good at naming things.
Okay.
Obviously. And when we started a company before we started our business, my wife came up with a genius name, which I love, and I wish I could have been smart enough to think of it myself. But One More Mountain.
One More Mountain.
It's my company name.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, Michael, I like the first one better, but we can go with that.
Okay.
Keep your wife happy with that side of things, but I was very underprepared in the fact that we usually get ChatGPT to generate one of these so I can show it to you. I haven't done that yet, but what we will do, I will generate one now with Arnold Schwarzenegger playing you with that title, and we will share it on social media once we put this interview up.
Sure.
Because I want to see.
I don't know if you go Danny DeVito.
I want to see both now. It's twins. It's twins too, basically.
Exactly.
There they are on a ski going down a mountain. I've got an image right now. Two deep ones to close it out for you, Michael. And you sort of, this is the one I alluded to before that I'm intrigued to hear what your answer will be for this one. The one question that you are tired of being asked, and what is the one that you wish people would ask you instead?
So I've done a lot of airport travel over the years, and often when I travel in the airport, I'll have, 6 pairs of skis in a couple of ski bags, or I'll have a couple of bikes in boxes. And, lots of people come up to me and say, "Can I help you?"
Mm.
And that's not the question I hate. The question I hate is after I say no, they go, "Are you sure?"
Right, yeah.
It's the second one. It's the "Are you sure?" Sorry? Interview question. Oh, I didn't listen. Can you ask the question again? What's the one interview question?
No, it was the one question. You were correct.
Oh, it's just one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a question.
It was just one question. I do like this feedback, though. Again, bring her in. I like this.
I'm getting questions.
We don't have to get notes handed across for this sort of thing. You answered the question wrong. Like, no, I didn't.
So, so the question I hate is, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
They want to be nice. They want to help me. They can see it's hard work.
Yep.
I'm happy to do the work. But it's the "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
It's kind of cultural. It's kind of, but I just wish they'd listen to the first no.
What is your what
so
is
give them the second no.
When you get asked a question so many times, right? You know how to answer it generally. I answer it in a polite-ish way, even though you don't probably want to answer.
This is not my strength.
Well, I was gonna do you have what's your go-to answer when they ask you that? Like, fuck off.
Wish I could say I'd never said that. But I like to try and be polite and I say no, thank you.
Yep, no, thank you. That's the one. Not on the same level, Michael. My last name being Waterworth, I get the how much is Waterworth. So, my standard answer is if I knew the answer to that, I'd be, but sometimes you just feel like, piss off. Is there a question you wish people would ask you though instead? Like, is there one, like, be it about your career, about like anything in general? This can be interviews, it can be life questions, something that maybe you want to talk more about that perhaps if somebody asked you that question, you would be able to do so. Helps me out too, so I'm just cheating with this one.
Silence. Dead silence.
You've been asked them all, basically.
A question. I guess. I haven't put it on my Instagram yet, so you haven't seen it. But I did a collab the other day with one of my American competitors.
Great.
We've never met, and we sat down and recorded a half-hour chat, and it's going to come up edited on Insta and stuff soon. One of the things that we talked about is, I guess, our attitude towards our disability and what other people think. And we got into that a little bit because I think we have pretty similar thinking around that kind of topic. And, one of the things he said is that one-legged people are dehumanized a little bit. And I get where he's coming from. I don't necessarily always agree, but if people wanted to ask me a question, I guess, about my humanity, then that would be something that I would like.
That's a great,
but just a question that makes you think, a question that makes you examine and learn.
Yeah.
All of those questions, anything along those lines would be appealing for me.
And that's why I asked that question, Michael, because one day I hope that I can ask a question on this show that makes people think. Maybe one day.
For sure.
Doing it for 10 years, you think we'd get there one day, but you never know. The last one I'll ask you, the deep one here, Michael, the one lesson you have learnt from losing that has shaped you more than winning. Getting him to think. I like this.
I think the one lesson from losing, the big lesson from losing is to go and try again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lifelong lesson in so many areas. Whether it be you think about losing, or whether you think about not achieving your goal, or whether you are unhappy with the outcome of any situation in life, go and try again.
Yep. Keep going. As I said, that's what I do on this show. I keep asking questions. Hopefully one day I want to be bloody good, but you never know. Before I let go, I feel like you should bring your wife in.
Not good today?
Oh, well, you tell me. Your wife's been listening. Bring her in. Can we say hello to her? Is she camera shy? Does she want to come in and say hello?
She's got pajamas on.
I don't care. I'm wearing this crap, so she can come in if she doesn't mind. She can just say hello in the background if she doesn't want to be seen. I just feel like I just want to say thank you to her to provide. Hello, there we go. Hi, welcome to Off the Podium. They're great pajamas. Is that Popeye on the pajamas?
Popeye shirt, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Are you looking forward to Italy? Have you got the bags packed?
I think a little more money from the fundraising before we can all go. But yes, it would be like 4 hours there and 2 days and 6.
Great. Well, fundraising. Talk about the tag the fundraising, Mike. Like plug it, both of you.
I did. MichaelMilton.com.
So people can go there and help donate.
It's all there. It's all spread out. It's all trying to make it easy for people.
Okay, easy. Well, you've saved my last question then of where can people follow the journey, because that's simple. MichaelMilton.com. But Michael,
MichaelMilton.com. Michael Milton on Facebook. What is it? Is it Mike MMHQ
on Instagram?
Milto HQ.
On
Insta.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Everyone's shoving it in there to make sure.
From the gallery.
We will tag it. We will do it on there. We will promote it. But Michael, it's seriously such an absolute honor to have you on the show and to learn more about this epic comeback, your incredible career and everything else. And we've got everything crossed between now and Milano Cortina that you're on that plane and you're going to go and have fun at a Paralympics. That's what I'm looking forward to, seeing you having some fun for once. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ben.